Hello and welcome to All the Things. I am Monique Dusan.
And I am Krista Bontrager, also known as Theology Mom.
This is the show where we talk about all the things related to God, the Bible, and real life. And this is also the show where we have a new opening.
And a new light.
We're doing big things. I don't know.
Our 201st show.
Yes. So you guys, we just did a new opening. Please put in the chat what you think about it. We'll go back and look at like the comments and things like that, but we want to try it out and do something a little different. I mean, 201st show. Why not a little something different? All right. So okay. I didn't know if you were going to be like joining in.
Maybe. I'm thinking about it.
We're
live.
We are live. Yes, we want to thank our moderators. I'm not sure who's on the moderation list. I don't have my sheet. I'm not ready, guys.
Well, we're thankful to the moderators, whoever they may be. Let's see who's there.
I've seen a couple people here. Laura Hartley is here.
Sylvia,
and I wanted to say I saw Natalie Roman in here.
And Alicia.
Oh, okay. You guys, thanks for coming through. We appreciate it. We want to give a heads up. We did some advertising that Melissa Doherty would be on our show tonight. Melissa texted me a couple hours ago and had a family situation come up. And so she's actually not going to be able to join us tonight. But we do have a cool show for you. And it's going to be a discussion. It's going to be us. It's like a little, a family gathering time. And we are looking forward to it.
Yeah, so what have you been up to?
I just been living.
Okay.
Been living, working. I've been traveling.
Kind of a rainy week. Yeah.
Ever. Really the worst. Been traveling, and I was in Detroit, Roseville, maybe?
Last
weekend?
Just
outside of Detroit last weekend. And that was good. I got to present next to or in conjunction with Elisa. So that was a fun time. I don't know that we've ever, aside from Colson Center, I don't know that we've ever been able to do to be at the same conference. So that was good.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I finally handed in my dissertation. So waiting to see what the next step is. Working on, I graduate 2 months from tomorrow. So
yes.
I'm assuming they'll tell me what the next step is. I have to do the defense I don't completely know what that's going to entail. I have sort of a sketchy idea, but yeah. So,
Well, you get a big round of applause from all of us. Congratulations.
well,
That
thank you.
is such a huge accomplishment
Well, it was nice not to have to write today. I've written
every Saturday.
nearly every Saturday for the last 9 months, and then prior to that, for the last 2 years, prior to that, was Saturday was always a day where I would be working on schoolwork and classwork and stuff. It was nice not to have to do that today. So
So what did you do today?
Bob helped me start cleaning the kitchen.
Hey, there you go.
So we cleaned a couple of cupboards that felt a little chaotic and out of control, and we'll just keep chipping away at it. We made a list last week,
Okay.
so we're working on
The
it.
post dissertation list.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Awesome.
Be like a regular person and take care of my house.
Look at that. All right. So today's show, we were kind of like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna talk about? And Krista had an idea of looking at the way the world has gone crazy over the last week and kind of discussing some of those things. A lot of it has come from Twitter, it's come from Facebook feeds. Oh, I should have put the one in that I have been seeing. I'm gonna save that one for the family meeting though.
Victoria's saying, "Are you going to go on vacation?" Well, we're going to graduation. Everyone's like, "Are you going to have a party? Are you going to celebrate?" Yes, the celebration is called graduation.
Yeah.
It's the trip, party. It's all of that.
Well, and people might not know that you actually don't go to school. Neither one of us are in a seminary that is local. Our seminary is in Birmingham. And
Yeah.
so we'll travel to Birmingham, Alabama, and
Yeah.
watch you graduate. I really want to live stream it, you guys. I really do. And then the whole family can be at the graduation.
Yeah. Well,
I personally think that might be something in my future.
so yeah. So what we're doing tonight is Monique and I often comment about how different our social media feeds are, and you would think we live in like on two different planets. Like they're so different at times. I'm like, "Hey, are you seeing this?" And she's like, "No, I'm not seeing anything about that." And so we're always sending each other back and forth links to various things in our feeds. And so we thought, well, it might be kind of interesting to show the world what's in our feeds
Yeah. I had made a
and
list.
how we kind of think about it and some of what we've been seeing and talking about it from the perspective of Christian worldview. So let's get up. This first thing that you have here is the state of Oklahoma is
Mhm.
wanting to pass a bill, or they did pass a bill one day ago, requiring convicted sex offenders to undergo chemical castration before becoming eligible for parole. So,
I was like, "Is this
what?
a hoax?" But then I
No,
looked
I think
into it more and it
it's
was
real.
real.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is real. And Oklahoma is probably arguably the most conservative state in the union from the standpoint of how many Republicans they have in their government.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
so they have been proposing a number of bills. There's a guy there in Oklahoma named Dusty Devers who is a um I think it would be fair to characterize him. I think he would call himself a Christian nationalist.
Hmm.
He's very conservative. And so he's, always proposing bills like abolition bills, a lot of different kind of bills.
Like abortion abolition.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have any idea if he's behind this. Surprised me if somebody like him is.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about this?
Well, I have a couple of thoughts. I remember doing some research like years ago on and probably in one of my psych classes about sex offenders and asking the question if there is any redeemability to sex offenders. Like, can they be not redeemability, but rehabilitated? Can they be rehabilitated?
Mm.
From their perversion toward children or the issue of control and wanting to rape and things like that. Um, and a lot of what I was reading at that time, this was a long time ago. A lot of it said no, like
They can't be
there was
rehabilitated.
no rehabilitation that had at that time been successfully tried, and saw someone who was completely rehabilitated from that crime. And
Well,
so I
well,
was
that's what they say on Law and Order, on the Special Victims
I
Unit.
don't think I've ever seen one episode of
Oh,
Law
I've
and Order.
seen, it's been like 25, 26 seasons. I've seen every episode.
Wow, okay. So so according to Law and Order, this would speak to,
They
if
always say it can't be
if
rehabilitated.
they can't be rehabilitated, then, are they're wanting to, I'm assuming, protect the public from someone's
Yeah.
potential crime. But it makes me ask other questions of like, well, you know, how do we like doing DNA tests? And so this is only going to be done on people we are 100% sure, have actually committed the crime, because there has been a lot of crimes and convictions that have been overturned.
Yeah.
And that has been something where I'm like, I wouldn't want to go down this road and have a chemical castration of someone, and then we come to find out, 10 years down the line, well, she lied, or, it was
Yeah.
really something else happened, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, making it a condition of parole, even if the person is innocent, they would have to go through the
Mhm.
process in order to get parole. I mean, this is like one of those bills that I feel like it sounds really good on
Mhm.
paper, but given how many murder convictions have been overturned, like
Mhm.
through the Innocence Project,
Yeah.
stuff like that, you better be very sure,
Yeah.
because this is a lifetime um, consequence.
Yeah.
And I get it. I mean, like, if we look at it biblically, um, you know, rape is, I believe, one of the capital
Yeah,
crimes
rape is punishable by death.
under the Old
Mhm.
Testament. So I get that part of it on the punishment side, but it also kind of casts a, I wonder if it casts a cloud of suspicion around the person enough that it almost makes him seem unredeemable. Like, what is the gospel impact of that? I don't know. I just have a lot of questions. But what I did think was interesting, Bob, if you go back to that link for a second, and scroll down, Billboard Chris, who's a guy who travels around with a billboard speaking out against puberty blockers for kids. What was interesting to me is he says Oklahoma pedophiles now have to be chemically castrated before becoming eligible for parole. Yet these are the same drugs we call "quote unquote" puberty
Mhm.
blockers that chemically castrate
I mean,
children.
that's really interesting. Yeah.
And how many people know that? Like,
Mhm.
that it's the same thing, the same um, chemicals that
Yeah.
they give. So
Another thing that I was wondering is, how are we, talking about, and I think Future asked this question too, how are we labeling pedophiles? Is it any person who needs to now participate in the, or sign up on the
yeah.
registry? But then what if you get like or would statutory rape fall into that? Like, if there's a,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, what if there's this underage, or there's only a
like a
couple of
17-year-old
years?
boy and a
Yeah.
15-year-old girl. Is that
Yeah.
if he goes to trial for stat rape, or is he going to have to get chemically castrated? And sometimes those are seen as juvenile crimes and
Mhm.
expunged. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of questions there.
It is.
Yeah.
AE Rogers says if they are in prison, it was a significant offense. That isn't necessarily true. So I would push back and say that there are times when people are wrongfully accused and they do end up in jail. And this is where my hesitation for something like this comes from, is, let's say this person is accused, tried, found guilty, but they're wrong. We have seen a number of cases where people have been, found innocent after years of sitting in jail,
Yeah.
and that's where my hesitation comes from. Like, how are we making sure, like,
I,
is it, maybe it's for repeat offenders, like, you you went to jail once, but now you're on like jail time number 3.
But I'm
I don't
not
know.
sure I trust the government for this because it
That's
could
it.
so easily be weaponized toward a different group.
Yeah.
And I don't know, as a minority religion, as someone who's in a minority religion,
Mm.
from the standpoint of, like actively living out our faith,
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm hesitant. All right, let's go on to ready to go on to the next thing?
Yeah.
All right. All right. So you picked out one here. This was big in your feed this week, and I didn't see anything about this. I wouldn't know anything about this. Arlington Cemetery. So tell us about this.
So Arlington Cemetery has apparently from their website dropped the links to Black, Hispanic, women, and some Medal of Honor recipients. And I don't really know what to call the people who were there. I wouldn't call them a participant, but like the dead who are placed there. I'll say that. They have removed them from their website. So at Arlington Cemetery, you can go and you can take a tour, you can do a walking tour, and I believe there's different links. I'm not sure if there's an app, but there's like different links that you can click through to figure out, well, who's here and all of those things. And those things have been removed. And many people are saying, well, they were removed because of DEI, and it actually does look like it was removed because of DEI.
There's also like lesson plans for
Yes.
teachers to download, and
All of that was removed.
has been at least hidden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
removed in the sense that it is not there for public viewing.
Yeah.
And so I immediately text Kevin because I'm like, wait, what? And he mentioned that something had happened like with the Tuskegee Airmen situation as well. I'm not exactly sure about that.
That was when
But-
you were in London.
But yes, it's kind of confusing because the president's executive order was cast far and wide, and I'm wondering if people are trying to cover themselves, and so making sure that we aren't talking about minorities, we aren't talking about women, we don't want anything that looks like DEI, and so something like this gets removed, or was it just an error?
Yeah.
I'm not really
Is it-
sure. And there hasn't been a lot of talk since, aside from the idea of this is just racism, and this just shows that Trump is a racist and all of that. And I'm like, well, hold on. We need to think about this more cautiously and really figure out what was behind it.
Yeah.
Kevin made a good point in saying that, it might take some time for people to understand what is going to be considered DEI and what isn't. What we need to remember, I would say, just as Christians, is that our history, American history, comes in all colors. And American history comes in both sexes. And so we need to really understand what is DEI, what is the goal of DEI, what is classified as DEI. And then, if they're just going around erasing history, like that's not the goal of his executive order from how I understand it.
So from my understanding, Hegseth, who's over the military, Arlington is under his jurisdiction. And while you were gone in London, the Tuskegee thing was that they had removed some historical videos from a training module for the Defense Department. And when people pointed it out, it was quickly restored. It was
Yes.
like, oh, we made a mistake. They put it back. But this is an issue that you and I raised on the family meeting several weeks ago, is what qualifies exactly as diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah.
Pointing out where African-American soldiers are buried in Arlington,
Yes.
I'm not 100% sure that qualifies as DEI. I mean, unless you want to make the app so that, hey, we're going to honor all soldiers the same way. So we're just going to change the search function from, being focused on these different racial categories to you can search any name of a soldier if you're looking for somebody or something. But I'm not, I just think that there's a lot of confusion about what actually qualifies as DEI. And Hegseth is given very clear instructions about we're not recruiting based on that anymore for the military, but there definitely needs to be more clarity. And it could be just a situation of some people were told to do something and they're doing their job.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily nefarious, but hopefully good things will be reversed. And I think they're reviewing the lesson plans for the teachers just to make sure that everything's with the current administration, and their plan is to review them and then put them back or revise them. That's my understanding. So,
I hope so.
But I haven't seen anything about this.
Oh.
You said there was a lot of comments.
Yes, there were. People were very upset. I mean, and I think probably because a lot of my friends and people that I'm connected to are so race focused. But yeah, all the comments were, they're just trying to erase our history. This is just more proof of erasing our history. It's like, no, we don't want to erase history. We're not, and not even the fact that we're erasing Black history. That's not, that's not what we're saying. We want to make sure that we hold American history accurately. Yeah. And so how do we do that? How do we, understand that DEI or critical race theory is not simply holding history or understanding how history has impacted certain groups of people?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the DEI concerns were about discrimination, but definitely needs to be more clarity around that. Yeah. There's a lot of confusion. So taking like a wait and see posture, don't freak out, maybe ask questions. One of the things I love about X is that you can tag anybody on X and ask a question. Yeah. Like I would encourage people, if you have an X account, tag the Defense Department or tag Arlington Cemetery and ask what's happening here. Can you please clarify? Sometimes they will. It's pretty amazing how much contact normal people can have with the government now. Oh, wow. Through X. So, don't freak out, but do ask questions, so. All right.
All right. You want to do one?
Then, yeah, sure. Let's see. Bob, let's go to the one on,
this was my favorite.
The National Literacy Institute. Can you do that one? Okay. It's like maybe. Okay. That one. So you made a post this week over on Center for Biblical Unity and on your personal page about some of these statistics.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, it was a big, long thing.
No. That was about the Pew Research Center. I didn't do that one.
Oh, okay. Well, scroll down a little bit. These are literacy statistics for 22 and 23. Can you scroll down a little bit? I think there's literacy data. Back in the.
It's right there. Approximately 40%. So here, let me do the setup for it.
All right. Yeah.
So earlier this week, or
okay, I guess go back to us for a minute.
Maybe a couple of days ago. It's fine. I posted on X. All I said was, for people who are basically in their feelings about Trump and the Department of Education, sometimes the truth hurts. And then for the truth, I posted the stats that we just saw here, which said that there are approximately 40% of students across the nation cannot read at a basic level.
Where is that on here? I'm not seeing it.
It's the first bullet point.
Okay. So under literacy data, Bob, it says approximately 40% of students across the nation cannot read at a basic level. Almost 70% of low-income fourth grade students cannot read at a basic level. We are in trouble.
We are. And I've had a number of teachers actually reach out to me since making that post and said, thank you for saying something. I appreciate this post. Our kids are actually in trouble. Like they see the issues that are being reported here. But people are so in their feelings about the Department of Education. And from what I've read, I think half of the Department of Education was laid off.
This week, they were, what they call it, it's not downsizing, there's a technical employment term. No, it's not furlough, but it's like a rearrangement of the hiring where they narrow it, and they narrowed it this week by 50%, which is significant. The end goal, though, is closing the entire Department of Education down and using that money as block grants to send it back to the states.
Yes.
So what's left of the DOE right now, from what I understand, is a lot of the disability programs. And there's one other thing I just don't remember, but there's things that like, okay, I could get behind that. They canceled a lot of the like trans contracts and for training and hiring and all of those goals, outside contractors related to those discriminatory policies. But they're the eventual goal is to shut it all down
and to give that power back to the states, which I appreciate. I do think that there are going to be states like California that choose to go down a road that is just highly unfortunate.
Yeah.
But, you know, a state like Nebraska might just thrive.
But Natalie, who's a teacher, she's sitting on here. This is, most people don't understand what the Department of Education does. They think it has something to do with teachers. It won't really affect the classroom other than mandatory curriculum. That's another thing they want to push back to the state level, is letting states decide about curriculum. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like for everyone who's in their feelings about the Department of Education, you know, and the, I'll say furlough for lack of a better word, we need to understand that our children cannot read. Like if you scroll up on that document, it said something, a certain percentage of moms can't even read
to their children.
To their children.
Yeah. 3 out of 5 people in American prisons can't read. Wow.
That talks about the school to prison pipeline. But if we scroll up a little bit more, 3 out of 4 people on welfare can't read. 20% of Americans read below the level needed to earn a living wage.
Wow.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And then you get a state like California where most people can't read well enough to earn a living wage. And so what do? We just continue to increase the minimum wage. You know, it's a problem. But we need to be looking at the future of America. And I think part of looking at the future of our nation, it must involve looking at the education of our children. How are we raising our kids to be able to be literate adults?
And, you know, any homeschoolers who are on the stream right now, I just want to encourage you to, like, the most important thing you need to teach your child from the time that they, you know, pre-reading, even before kindergarten, through like, some say 4th grade, some say 6th grade, is how to read. Like, it is the most foundational thing that you need to be teaching your children. Read out loud to them. We did a ton of books on tape with our kids. Now it'd probably be like books on Audible or something, but like having physical books that they would be looking at while they would be listening to it. Our older daughter taught herself to read by doing that. And the most important thing you need to teach your child is how to read. And they need to read a lot of books and, you know, helping them do that. Because if you can read, then you can teach yourself anything. And having that as a cornerstone is so vitally important. And yeah, so that's my little soapbox about that.
No, I agree with you. Alicia Moss's comment says, a lot of literacy success is based on cultural value. The more books the students are exposed to, the greater their literacy. Yes. Yeah.
And the research bears that out, is if you live in a home that has a culture of reading and a value of reading, then the children will thrive. If you have a home culture where other things are valued, then the child will reflect that.
Yeah.
And you can't expect that your child is just going to learn how to read in school. Like, you've got to, if your kids are in school, you've got to have a culture of reading at home where books are just part of the everyday life. So along those lines, I wanted to share a short video that has been all over my feed the last 2 days, like all over. Everybody reposting this video. So I think it's only 90 seconds, but it's a good follow-up to our discussion with the Brave Parenting gals a couple weeks ago.
The YouTube one, Department of Education?
It's an x.com post.
Oh, an X post. it? I don't know which one.
It has a woman's face on
I
it.
see it here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
I think that you guys don't know what's going on in education right now. That's fine. Like, how could you know unless you were working in it? But I think you need to know. So here's exactly what it's like right now working in public education. First of all, the kids have no ability to be bored whatsoever. They live on their phones and they're just fed a constant stream of dopamine from the minute their eyes wake up in the morning until they go to sleep at night. Because they're in a constant state of dopamine withdrawal at school, they behave like addicts. They're super emotional, like the smallest thing sets them off. And when you are standing in front of them, trying to teach, they're vacant. They have no ability to tune in if your communication isn't packaged in short little clips or if it doesn't have like bright flashing lights. That's actually the way harder part for me than just the outright behaviors, is just being up at the front, talking to a group of kids who have their eyes open, they're looking at me, but they're not there. They're not there. And they have a level of apathy that I've never seen before in my whole career. Punishments don't work because they don't care about them. They don't care about grades. They don't care about college. It's like you are interacting with them briefly in between hits of the internet, which is their real life. I've seen some TikToks recently where teachers are getting a lot of hate, like for not adapting to the kids or punishing them or whatever. And I just gotta say, like, I can tell you with absolute certainty, it is not the teacher's fault. It might be the parents' fault. It might be our capitalistic society's fault, but it is not the teacher's fault. I think that you guys...
So is our mic back on?
Yes.
Okay. So what are your thoughts about that? I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll let you go first.
Oh, I have other thoughts that are different from this. Go ahead, and then I'll share
Okay.
my thoughts.
Well, her basic thesis is that what she's seeing in students is that they're addicted to the dopamine hit from the mobile device, and so
we talked about this on that Brave Parenting
yeah,
episode.
and so and there are a growing number of schools that are saying, well, we're not going to have devices at school, but what she's saying is that's not enough because what they're doing is they come to school and there's no device, but then they're like addicts, and so they're constantly, what do you call that? Like
trying to get a hit,
trying to come off the high.
Withdrawal.
Yeah, they're going through withdrawals all day. So they're super sensitive and acting a fool and all of this stuff. So if you're a teacher on here, chime in. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. But there is a guy to follow on X named Jonathan Haidt who tracks all the research, and his book Anxious Generation has a lot of this research in it, but he's always tracking on X all the new and emerging research. And let me tell you, there is absolutely no good research that says mobile devices are a great thing for our kids. Yeah. It's damaging their brains. It's damaging their emotional development. We would never think of giving cocaine to a child. But for some strange reason, we as parents can make a lot of arguments for why our children need mobile devices. And we think that it's going to be okay, even though the research says otherwise over and over and over, study after study after study, and parents will not change their behavior. And this is, I believe, a parent problem.
I hear you. I noticed her, I think it's Rebuki, mentioned the dig to capitalism at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
yeah.
why?
Yeah.
But I think where my thoughts went were, I saw a video earlier this week about a teacher who just straight had to square up with a kid, and she did everything she could to deflect, to move this kid away. But before I knew it, that kid had turned around and just clocked her. And so my thoughts went there, like, for some kids, reading is a huge issue, and phones are an issue and things like that. But then I know, like, there's a whole other set of issues that are happening in classrooms as well, where teachers, if you aren't skilled in something like Krav Maga, you're going to get your tushy handed to you by some of these kids. I think that, or I hope that if a lot of the education situation comes back into the hands of the state, maybe there'll be more funds to be able to navigate some of that. I don't know how I think there's more, I guess I'll say this. I think there's more than just reading issues that are happening in schools. And I think it's great that we're talking about reading. I think reading is a huge issue. When I would study or have studied the school to prison pipeline, reading was the first thing that always would come up. Can a child read by grade 4? Can a child, do all of these whatever things it was to make sure that they are on a track not to go to prison. But I feel like that we've thrown the school to prison pipeline out the window. I feel like it's kindergarten and then it's handcuffs for some of these kids because there's no intervention. Like there's something that's missing. And this is largely, I'm thinking of like the Black community, but I'm like, I don't know if it's fathers. I don't know if it's that our teachers aren't skilled enough. And I'm like, don't take that as a shot, teachers. I'm just not sure what is missing in some communities where teachers show up and they have to risk their lives or risk being beaten on a daily basis in order to do their job.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to be honest. Like, I tend to see the root cause as family culture.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the family culture to me is access to screens and devices. I believe that it actively harms child development. And it is the functional equivalent of letting your kid take cocaine. The research just shows over and over and over again how it impacts attention. It doesn't allow the brain to form in the proper way so that they can read. We need to go back to paper and pencils and physical books, get rid of all the Chromebooks, get rid of all the devices, and kids are not built to take in that information. God has not created their brains that way. They need physical books and talking in real conversations with real people, writing things down. There's even a lot of research about what happens in handwriting, your notes versus typing them. We need to stop thinking that a lack of technology will improve education. That's not the problem. It's the family culture. And I think, this is my opinion, but the part of family culture is the devices. And I know it's an unpopular opinion.
No, that's fine. I would say family culture, yes. Devices, yes. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something missing.
Yeah, Rebuki says makes the point about parents, and this is what I always hear in the pushback to my position is parents want access to their children. That's why they want the phones. It's the parents. And I think that these kids are growing up with attachment disorders. And that's why there's all this acting out. I think that it's neglect, but it's the parents who are doing it. So, just my opinion.
Sorry, I was going to go through.
Oh, sure. Let's take a quick break, hear from our friends at Maven, and then we will be right back. That'll give us a minute to regroup on where we want to go next here. All right, bye.
Truth and courage. Christians need a good dose of both in this current cultural moment. That's why you need to be at the 2025 Maven Conference. We are going to look at the anti-Christian culture that we're currently in and the unique challenges that it presents to us. The challenges of expressive individualism, the authority of the self, and how that dominates so much of our society. And then also critical theory, the ideas that permeate every institution. And families and students need to figure out how to navigate those challenges. So join us for the Maven Conference, and there you'll get a good dose of both truth and courage. Go to mavenconferences.com to register.
Make sure to check out mavenconferences.com to find out where their next tour stop will be. I can actually tell you that the next one will be in September in Texas. We will both be there. If you are we'll be speaking. If you are in the Dallas area, check out mavenconferences.com. We would love to see the family there.
Yes, definitely. Okay, so something that has been in my feed a lot and in yours. So surprisingly,
surprise
for both of us, it's the great crossover topic is a lot of hubbub this week about a runner hitting another runner in the back of the head.
Knocked that girl in her head
with a baton.
She didn't get that girl a concussion.
All right, so let's look at the little reel here.
Is it from the news channel?
Which one you want to do? The news story?
Sure, we can.
All right, let's do them.
All the links would be great.
Oh, yeah.
Or the Facebook reel.
Well, I got a Fox 8.
Yeah, go ahead and do that one.
Okay.
And then we can go to the Facebook one.
The world. At the center of it all, I.C. Norcom High School senior Alea Effort. She was at a community rally this evening with Portsmouth NAACP, and our Markeisha Jackson was there too.
The Portsmouth NAACP president attended the rally, doubling down on what he calls unwarranted criminal charges against Everett.
I love y'all.
Everett and her family were surrounded by support Thursday evening, speaking out at a rally organized by community members, all unified with one message.
Stand for Layla Everett!
We stand for Layla Everett! First of all, we want to say unequivocally that Layla is not a criminal and she's not an attacker.
Portsmouth NAACP President James Boyd says it was important for him to attend this rally to discuss more on the statement the NAACP chapter put out in response to the now viral incident. Boyd says the most striking detail from all of the outrage is the fact that Alayla faces an assault and battery charge, a charge he and the Lynchburg NAACP chapter aren't pleased with.
Our Lynchburg NAACP leaders had a meeting this morning with the Lynchburg Commonwealth Attorney. The purpose of that meeting was to go in and advocate that no charges should be levied.
So let's talk about what happened. You have two high school students and they are in a track meet. And as they're coming around, I want to say they must be coming around for the final lap. There's a girl who's already, it's three girls. There's a girl who's way up. She like Jackie Joyner Kersey, like she at the front. And then you got these other two girls and they're like neck and neck. Okay, they neck and neck. And one girl looked like she was going to veer into the other girl's lane. And all you see, and that angle wasn't the best angle from the other one that I've seen. But when she comes around, this other girl, Layla, she just like, whack. And
I think it's on the Facebook reel if Bob's got that.
The Facebook reel, I believe, is her talking about how she would never do something like that.
Oh, she would never do something like that. Oh, it's not the video. Okay.
This girl then hit this girl in the head once, twice. I think it was
so she
twice.
took that
she took the baton and she she wasn't playing. Now, Layla, who is the perpetrator, I'll call her that. She says that she would never, hit someone. She's crying before the media. Please come to my defense. This isn't in my character. But it's saying something, honey, because we seeing you do it. Now, she
got the NAACP behind her.
So she says that it was a complete accident. The girl came into her lane a little bit, and as she's running, normally, like when I run, I don't run a lot. Like let's be honest, it's been a minute since I didn't run from anything. But I would run like this. I wouldn't run like this. You know what I mean?
With that baton.
I wouldn't be like if I'm running like that, trust me, I'm hitting you on purpose. So old girl has now said that, it wasn't her fault and it was an accident and it's not in her character. And so she's and people are like showing her all kind of sympathy. So much so that the regional NAACP in her region has now jumped on board to defend this girl. And I am hoodwinked, bamboozled. I am mystified.
Now she claims that, maybe she lost her balance, or she
First of all, she said she was the victim because old girl was coming into her lane, knocking her off her game when she was you hitting somebody for second place, you still lost. I'm sorry, but if you got second place, you lost. First place is the place you want to be. Second place is good. I'm competitive, I'm sorry. But yes, and so now the NAACP is involved, and they did this little rally for her with the 13 people that came out.
Yeah,
it
was exactly a big crowd.
I'm like,
maybe 20.
I am sorry, and I know. Yeah, I probably shouldn't say this, but some of my kinfolk, people who share my hue, we would have been out there screaming for Barabbas. I am like, how are we getting behind and trying to defend this girl? Now, if there's a video that I have missed that shows her running just like this and that baton leaping up out of her hand.
I wish we had the other video from the other angle, because it's so much more clear. Yeah, I know.
If there is something that shows really that this girl, maybe she bent down and her head popped up into the other girl's baton. But how can we sit here and defend that? That girl needs to apologize, and she needs to accept whatever punishment is coming to her. And they're saying that she could be charged with a misdemeanor. You messed around and now you're about to find out. Like, she lucky that wasn't the right one, because the right one would have turned around and hit her back.
All right, I found the video. Maybe Bob can play it. Let me put it on the Google Doc right now. You have to start it about like 14 seconds into it.
So Future says Mo is the person who
you don't
thinks
need sound.
Board games are a full contact sport. Yes, I do. We ain't playing no board game just for fun, for sport. No.
You can mute the sound. It doesn't need any sound.
Okay, we are gonna play this.
All right, because they're gonna play it a couple times.
Look at. She done hit that girl so many times. Her baton then came out her hand. Look at this. Pop, pop, pop. What in the world? What in the world for second place? Because old girl in the first place, she ain't turned around or nothing.
All right.
But yet, the NAACP and the one brain cell they share together have come to this girl's
So your
rescue.
take on it is it was intentional.
Look, I have learned to be a person of evidence, a person who waits. But I'm really trying. I'm like, maybe there's another angle. Maybe. And if there is, I will completely come back to y'all and be like, I apologize. Please forgive me. I have wrongfully spoke. But, I mean, y'all saw that video.
So
you saw her. Who run like that? And like I said, I'm out of practice. I'm out of shape.
So in your family, when you guys play Uno, like who's the most competitive?
All of us. We are all when you look at me, know that there are a lot of other people who are like me. We are all the same. All of us.
So it's a bunch of black people who need racial reconciliation?
No.
When you play Uno?
My family is very multicultural. But we just all happen to have the same cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
So no. But yeah, no. I wish you would know. And she hit her like she had to have hit her twice.
Well, the courts will have to decide. They'll have to look into it.
I ain't never seen a mess like that before in my life.
So what does the NAACP do when both people are black? So who's at fault there?
I would say based on their more, I feel like they'll take the side of the one who is probably getting the most flack. So, in this situation, this girl is being blamed, and I think that they want to come to assist her. There's a technical term for it, and I can't remember what it was, but it's kind of like when the bad guy gets flipped into being the innocent person or the good guy. We kind of saw it in we talked about it in Wicked. Do you remember that?
No.
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
I'm no use.
All right.
All right. So the courts will have to sort it out. They'll have to look at the evidence and figure out what's happening there.
Man, look at that video.
She watching it back.
Yeah. No,
right.
I'm saying.
All right.
Father, she would have had to, yeah. She would have had to make sure I was all the way knocked out, friend. All the way.
Otherwise, she would have turned around. And...
All the way, honey. That race would have ended a lot different. Oh, no. Honey, you would have had to make sure I was all the way knocked out.
Well, speaking of Monique being suspended from school.
Nobody was talking about me being suspended from school.
Well, if you were at a high school track meet and someone hit you in the back of the head with a baton.
I have been suspended for less. Let's be honest.
Let's talk about this story on Unheard, Bob. It's one of your links. That one, yeah. Okay, so we get questions into the ministry from time to time about restorative justice. I thought this one was kind of interesting. It was in my feed today. Restorative justice is actually damaging American schools. Are you listening?
I am.
Okay. Scroll down a little bit. So hundreds of school districts and more than 18,000 schools in the U.S. have adopted restorative justice policies in recent years where traditional punishments are replaced with efforts at reconciliation between students. Parents Defending Education published a list this week of each school district in the U.S. that incorporates restorative justice in its disciplinary codes, with such schools representing more than 11 million students in districts such as New York City, Baltimore, and San Francisco. And sometime around 2013, public opinion seemed to coalesce around the belief that removing unruly students from the classroom, quote unquote, didn't work. It failed to solve the underlying behavioral issues. Restorative justice holds that suspensions, expulsions, and the involvement of law enforcement to punish misbehaving students constitute a school-to-prison pipeline that feeds into structural racism. Restorative justice seeks to correct this by replacing punishments with preventative measures, often in the form of dialogue and talking circles. So what's going on here?
So when you look, I want to say nationally, more Black kids are suspended. There's more.
Particularly Black girls.
Yeah.
Have a really high.
As you can see in the video, we are quick to throw hands. Okay. The throwing hand mechanism is strong in the community. And so many times it results in suspension, but you can only be suspended so many times before there's expulsion. You can only be suspended and commit so high of a level of crime before the police get involved. There's a lot that goes into just looking at what do I do with this child who has committed some sort of offense. And so the thought is that if I can bring a separation between this child and the authorities, or this child and now having all of these absences because they've needed to be suspended, we will be able to help get that child, promoted to the next grade, get them to graduate, and, all of those things. It'll help reduce the school to prison pipeline, but we're actually not seeing those results. And so restorative justice comes in and says, well, let's have a conversation. It's the same on the outside world as it is here. Like when you think of restorative justice in the prisons, and like the idea that a crime was committed, this might be this person's first offense. So let's bring the perpetrator and the victim together. Let's have a conversation. I know someone who actually had a kid who the kid was playing on the schoolyard or whatever, got into a little argument, and before they know it, this child was then hit by another child. And the principal at the school said it was their policy not to suspend, but to bring the kids together and have the kids hash it out. Now, what happened in that moment for this one child was that, I just got hit. I'm nervous now. Like, I don't want to actually say what I think, because who's to stop him from hitting me again? Obviously, you don't have enough people on the playground to make sure that this kid isn't going to attack me. And so it just kind of unfolds in this, let's come together and have a conversation. They should have been raised by Pauline. My mama wouldn't
go back to the article for a minute, Bob, if you can. Yeah. And then scroll down. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Right. Whoa, a little bit up right there. For all of restorative justice's emphasis on prevention, it's far from clear that these methods are causing a decline in school violence and behavioral issues. In other words, it's not working. That's some fancy talk for it's not working. Online teacher forums are awash with complaints about what you're saying, zero consequence culture, with some questioning why pupil misbehavior is swept under the rug. Educators are despairing that administrators' failure to enforce discipline is making classrooms unmanageable and chaotic.
Mm-hmm. But I think, can we
so
put that back up again? I want to read that
sounds nice, but it's not, doesn't seem to be working.
Yes, look at this sentence. It says, where did the administrators go? Educators are despairing that administrators' failure to enforce discipline is making classrooms unmanageable and chaotic. How far can the administrator go? You know, aside from expulsion, you know, and it's like if you get expelled, I want to say like after 2, then you need to switch districts or something like that. Or at least that's how it was when I was growing up. It could have changed now. But again, I think to your point, this is a family matter. You know, how are we handling kids and their behavior or consequences at home? Can you imagine it? Well, I don't know about you, but me, there was no way that I could be chaotic in class and then think that everything was going to be hunky-dory when I got home. I think that those times are gone, though. I think many parents are just as afraid of their kids as the teachers are. And so, you know, here we are. Everybody's afraid of these kids.
So
or
if you
feel
got
like there's no consequence available.
If you got in trouble at school,
depending on what I got in trouble for. You hit me and I knock you out, and wasn't nothing gonna be said. But if I just was running my mouth, and I was the student who always talks too much on her report card. But if I was horsing around and all of that, I would have been in severe trouble. Like I'd have been in a lot of, Pauline wasn't playing.
Someone's on the stream. High school administrator here would love to contribute to this conversation. I'm a licensed practitioner from the International Institute of Restorative Practices.
Oh, that's awesome. Because I think she wrote, or Philly Man, I read it as Phyllis. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Wrote that restorative practice and restorative justice are different. Restorative justice coming out of the like criminal system and things like that. If you want to reach out to us at info@centerforbiblicalunity.com, info@centerforbiblicalunity.com, we could definitely set up a time to talk and have a conversation. I would love to know more about that and have conversation and education on that totally. So thanks.
Yeah. All right. I think that's the end of the road.
Although we've come. Bam! I'm sorry?
I think we're done. Yeah.
All right. So we made it through. We didn't make it through with Melissa, sadly, but we made it through.
This is welcome to the junk drawer of social media. Here,
it is.
That's what this show was. Hopefully you found it entertaining and helpful. I do want to let you know that Walking in Unity is on sale right now. I don't know how long it'll be on sale.
On Amazon.
However long the Amazon control people allow it to be on sale. But it's on a good sale. It's on half price right now for $9.11. So if you want to get a copy for your church library or to give away to your pastors or friends, or if you want to do a small group study, now's a great time to buy the book. And don't forget that we also have videos on our channel to use in group conversations and small group study. There's conversation prompts at the end of every chapter. And so it's a great book to think about using maybe for a summer study, something like that. You can do that. All right.
Yes. If you've read Walking in Unity, we would love it if you would leave a review on Amazon for us. That would be awesome and amazing. All right, guys. I think it's time.
Let's go. All right. Next week, we will see you. Kevin and I will be here. Monique will be gone. And we're going to be having an amazing show. We already recorded it about immigration and what is happening at the border. And we talked to somebody who is boots on the ground there at the border, has over 15 years of experience as a reporter there on the border and also in Central America. And you are not going to want to miss this show. It is interesting, informational. Kevin and I both learned a lot. We define terms. We explain some of the confusing language surrounding immigration. You are not going to want to miss next week's show. And then you will be back with me in 2 weeks for a live show with Aaron Kunkel on gentle parenting.
I don't think so.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
There's nothing